Brian, you think it'll be a two-team race to win the AFC all season long between the Chiefs and the Ravens?
Well, of course, I love the pick of the Chiefs and the Ravens because they were the two of the most dominant teams last season. But as far as this year, I know how things change in the NFL from year to year. Usually there's a team that made the playoffs that won't make the playoffs, and there's a team that didn't make the playoffs that will make the playoffs. And when I look at these two teams, they're far and above probably the best and most talented teams on paper. But different things happen every single year. And let's use the Ravens in particular to begin with. Inside that division, they have a lot of the difficulty. And I think because the Cleveland Browns with their new coach, Stefanski, that very good defense and that high-powered offense, I think that could be a problem for the Ravens. I also think when I look at the Steelers, their ability to play defense, even though they were giving the ball right back to the other team last year without Ben Roethlisberger, I think that could be a deterrent for the Ravens as well. So I think they have some difficulty in the division. And then when I look at the Chiefs, you know, they have the best player in football, great tight end, great receiver, new running back situation, a great coach. They have everything that a coach, a team, a fan set, Nick Wright would possibly want. However, I know this. The Patriots, as good as they were for the last 20 years, they only had one back-to-back season, 03 and 04, where they were able to repeat as Super Bowl champions. And the reason for that is because it's hard to do. It's almost impossible to do because expectations change. Also, the pressure on you change. And here's the other thing. Your hunger and the ability to go out there and work hard every single day changes after you win a Super Bowl. It also changes, in my case, for a lot of the teams that I played on. It changes after you make it to the Super Bowl. And so I just think it's going to be a lot more difficult than just throwing out the ball and saying the Chiefs and the Ravens are going to be the best team in the AFC, even though they look like that on paper.
So, sorry, Brian, I'm over here cheesing ear to ear because Nick absolutely crushed me a few segments ago. He thought that I was just crazy for saying what I'm about to say. Earlier, I said there was 4 teams. Now I'm going to add a 15 because you gave me ammo and you gave me backup. So it's not about 2 teams. It's about 5 teams now. I love the Steelers because of Mike Tomlin, the return of Big Ben. What Coach Tomlin did last year was phenomenal. You can't forget that. This is a strong team. He galvanized that team midway through with losing quarterback after quarterback, revamping his defense. And then the Titans. The Titans have the best recipe for success when it comes to taking a postseason run. Why? Because they play great defense. They are smart in situational football. That's key. They have an efficient passing game. And, they can run the ball. And then let's add in my 15, which is the Colts. Colts, man, they should be extremely proud of themselves for putting themselves in proper position, going out to getting that 38-year-old quarterback, Nick, because this team has everything they need around them. Wide receivers, pass catchers, offensive line, defensive guys that can make big plays. So for that reason, it's not 2, it's not 4, it's 5 teams in the AFC.
All right, well, Brandon, listen, you said I crushed you the first time, so I'm gonna approach this from a different angle. What I like about your commentary there is you expanded it to 5 teams, and you still left out Wild's beloved Patriots, which made him have the bitter beer face, that entire rant right there. So that did make me happy. But here is why Brian is wrong and why Brandon is wrong. If we all agree the Chiefs and the Ravens are 2 of the best teams in football. I would argue they are the 2 best teams in football, but certainly of the best. The next teams on that list, in no particular order, you'd have the Cowboys, you'd have the Niners, you'd have the Seahawks, you'd have the Saints, you might include the Packers. What do all those teams have in common? All those teams, other than the Chiefs and Ravens, are in the other conference. So you might have the 2 best teams in football in one conference, and the next 5, 6, 7 teams, if you want to include the Vikings, the Bucks, some of those teams that other people are very high on, are all in the NFC. It would be gobsmacking if this season ends without one of these 2 teams going to the Super Bowl. You mentioned, Brian, that the Patriots only repeated once, but they did just recently make the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. So they won the AFC 3 consecutive seasons. And so when the teams going up against them, Brian, are quarterbacked by Rivers and Roethlisberger, who are combined 76, and Ryan Tannehill, who has a combined 15 great games in his career. I don't see the path for another team.
Nick, let me ask you this. Do you remember what was going on in your mind? Do you remember what was going on in your household, in the playoff game when the Chiefs were down by 24 to the Texans? Do you remember what was going on at that point? You were saying, you had to be saying to yourself, you know what, there's a possibility that we may lose. And you can't sit here and tell me that you didn't have that on your mind. Well, now, of course, you know that you have
I'll tell you exactly what I was thinking.
I'll
tell you exactly what I was thinking.
Have any idea that he had 5 touchdowns in him? And the next week, what about when they played the Titans? They were in the course of losing that football game. And again, Patrick Mahomes saved the day.
And if Mark Ingram doesn't pull his calf, Mark Ingram doesn't pull his calf, you can easily say that the Ravens make it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, that's great. But so let me just answer Brian's question real quick, Jenna. Here's what I was thinking when they were down 24-0 to the Texans and then down 10 points to the Titans and then down 10 points in the Super Bowl. I was incredibly nervous that I was going to lose my Chiefs minus the points bets. But not only did they win all those games, they covered them all too, because they got the GOAT quarterback with Andy Reid and Tyreek Hill and everybody else. So was I nervous they'd lose? No. Was I nervous I might lose a little bit of money? But thank you, Bill O'Brien. I'll always appreciate that. Down 24-0, then trailing at halftime. Great job, Texans. So no, I was nervous about the money, Jenna, but I was not nervous about the Chiefs losing. Never hand steady as could be.
I'm sure. I want to bring up one other subject before we go to break. You guys mentioned the Bucs. Leonard Fournette, so excited about playing with Tom Brady. He inadvertently tossed a little shade at his former team. Fournette saying yesterday, for the first time in my life, I really have a quarterback. Take that, Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, and my guy Gardner Minshew. Brandon, Fournette's comments, fair or foul?
This is totally foul, but I understand it. I get it. This is part of the maturation process and the growing pains for Leonard Fournette. When I left the Chicago Bears and went to the New York Jets, I said something like, Jay Cutler doesn't have any Weibos. And then Jay Cutler responds, like, Brandon is like that ex-girlfriend that keeps calling you. You know, you just can't get over it. So, Leonard Fournette, just keep your mouth shut. Just move on. Learn from my mistakes. You don't want to open yourself up to criticism.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think the comment, first of all, is 100% true. There's no doubt in my mind he had no quality quarterbacks there in Jacksonville. And that's part of the reason why when you hear people leaving Jacksonville, they're all celebrating, and the guys that left before them are saying, congratulations, you're out of that place. I'm happy for you. The other part was that it was also completely unnecessary. He didn't have to go back and trash these guys. But absolutely everything he said was absolutely true.
Yeah.
So Brian, did you want him to say it or not?
I want him to not say it, but if you are going to say it, at least say something that's true. And what he said was actively true.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's weird. It's like it's one of those rare things, Nick.
Wild?
It's true, but also don't say it.
Unnecessary, completely unnecessary to
people,
say it. Everybody already knew that.
But here's the thing. I'm very curious, Brandon. Do you and Leonard Fournette, do you guys have a monthly conference call for the players who have been just bedeviled by terrible quarterback play? Because Cutler was good and Russell Wilson was great and you had Eli briefly. But our guy Dusty sent me the list of Fournette's quarterbacks dating back to college. Here they are. Blake Bortles, Gardner Minshew, Cody Kessler, Nick Foles, Chad Henne, and then in college, the who's who of Brandon Harris, Danny Etling, Anthony Jennings, Brad Cragthorpe, Justin McMillan, and Lindsey Scott. I promise all of those are real names. So at first I wanted to crush Fournette. I'm like, hey, man, you got to hold up your end of the bargain. And then I looked at that list and I'd be like, he's kind of got a point. He's kind of I don't know what his high school quarterbacks look like, but he kind of has a point, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I disagree because I think the wide receiver, if anybody, should make that statement and feel that way. Brian, I don't know about you, but I've always thought that the running back make the quarterbacks better. When you have an average quarterback or a quarterback that's not so good, then you can lean on the run game, and it opens up everything else for you. So I disagree a little bit there.
I tell you this, I wish that Andy Reid felt like the running backs made the quarterbacks better, he would have paid me a lot more money. Andy Reid always felt that the quarterbacks were going to make everything better, and that's why they gave Donovan McNabb all the doggone money.
Oh, if only the Bucks played the Jags this season, but they don't, so I'm glad I brought it up. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.